So, if you were to sum up the ETHOS biosphere system, what would you say?
The ETHOS system is so remarkably powerful at autonomous money generation that if restrictions weren't placed on the monetary output, no one would bother working.
You can't possibly be serious. Really?
I couldn't be more serious. No one would have to work. They wouldn't need or want to. Let the ramifications of that sink in.
I find this extremely hard to believe.
I completely understand your reaction to the new technology. You can imagine the reaction of someone in just the past 19th century to the mere idea of harnessing energy or instantaneous worldwide communication. The internet, airplanes or cars, microwave ovens, cell phones or computers, or any number of things we absolutely take for granted. They'd think you were nuts.
I'm not so sure I really understand.
Think about it. At that short time ago, they were still lighting their homes with gas and candles, and still lighting up the streets with whale blubber. Only half the homes had electricity by 1926. There wasn't even a formal road system in the United States until some decades after work began in 1916. They were driving around on muddy dirt roads everywhere. Seriously. That's literally how far and fast we've come. And our advances have been exponentially accelerating ever since. But in some ways, our stupid has been exponentially accelerating as well. And so now, the ETHOS system couldn't have come at a better time.
Okay, so how does the system work?
Imagine if Facebook, or any such major platform, paid you to use it. Respectable money. Paid you. Right now those platforms monetize you. They turn you into money. Imagine that. They turn you into money. We simply switch that around. Okay, that's a bit oversimplified, but you get the idea.
I never realized that.
It gets even better. Think matrixed money, matrixed commerce, matrixed everything, compounding all the money. Einstein is famous for saying the compound interest was the eighth wonder of the world. And we're now simply using it to the people's advantage for a change.
But do we really need this system?
Here's another thing. We live much longer than people in the past centuries. So we need to provide for ourselves, especially in our older age. Because, although governments say they can, and will provide, they have proven that they simply can't, and often won't. And if they do, there's a heavy price to pay. On many sides of that coin. Their solution is always to take money away from people. They simply don't know how to generate money. That's a simple fact. And taxing everyone is not a healthy answer to the systemic problems we face, which governments themselves have largely created. And not just that. Who is even really capable, or even wants to work, in their 70s and 80s? Even in their late 60s, after a life of hard labor, and then try to live on a mere pittance.
But is the system actually secure and safe?
ETHOS is as secure as it can possibly be. And because it's a fully enclosed system, it's more impenetrable. ETHOS is the people's system. It's healthy. It's the people's stable, monetary system. It's their safe, secure environment. It's not just a place. It's a movement. People are now virtually entirely on their own. In an unstable world. And unstable world systems. Massive inflation. Corruption everywhere, especially at the highest levels. This is a very real and serious problem. The ETHOS biosphere is the safe and best place to possibly be.
Okay, I'm beginning to see your point.
The point really is not just about how much longer we're living. It's about quality of life. And that's very easy to quantify, but a lot harder to achieve. The ETHOS Mari system is about quality of life. Shorter work weeks, more money, which brings more opportunity, better education, better healthcare, better retirement, better food, better everything. What's not to like about all that? But, believe it or not, there's even more. We just can't get into it all right now. But you're getting the idea. ETHOS. Its time has most certainly come. And not a moment too soon.
But doesn't the government provide all those things already through our tax dollars?
The United States government admits that its Social Security program will be bankrupt by 2035, if not sooner. That's a deeply troubling and serious problem. The world governments aren't in any better shape, if not worse. 6 entire countries went bankrupt in 2020 alone. Imagine that.
I think you're starting to make me a believer.
There's so much more that could be said, and certainly deserves to be said.
How about saying something about solving world hunger?
That's a really good question, and it deserves a really good answer. The United States alone has spent hundreds of billions around the world, in fact, well into the trillions over more than half a century. And what do we have to show for it? There's so much corruption in all the agencies that purport to be helping people. ETHOS is deliberately engineered to actually overcome the systemic problems, which keep the people from receiving the aid, which I'll get to in a minute. Let's take Haiti for a perfect example. A country of only 11 million people. They've received $13 billion in aid over the last decade. 13 billion. Imagine that. And yet, that tiny country is as poor and famished as ever. People need to be a little more realistic. All we hear are platitudes about billionaires paying their fair share. And thinking that money is the only issue. It isn't. It never was. But manipulative people will want you to believe that, so they can fill their own coffers.
Yes, but how exactly do you solve this seemingly unsolvable problem?
Okay, now, here's how effectively ETHOS solves the systemic corruption problem. Firstly, it's a fully autonomous system. So there's no chance for corruption from inside or outside the system. Secondly, ETHOS is fully self-contained. So it's not exposed to corrupting outside forces. Thirdly, and most importantly, the system delivers the money, the goods and services, directly to the people. Directly. And this solves the significant problem of serious money and goods going mysteriously missing. To the tune of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. The current inefficient and corrupt systems deliver the money and other things to the people, indirectly, through government and other agencies that skim off the top and bottom, using your tax and charitable money as their private hoard. So, very little actually gets to the people. And because ETHOS delivers directly to each individual person, there's zero waste. Let me repeat that. Zero waste. Not just bypassing corruption, but bypassing waste. And that's really important too. Now, because the money is internal to the system, and can only be spent within the system, this assures perfect security. Unlike distributing the money to governments, hoping they'll distribute it to the people, instead of feeding their military, and only their political supporters with it. It doesn't get any better than ETHOS. It's never been done like this before. The high standard has now been set, as well as the expectations. No longer can corrupt people use well-meaning people's money against them, under the cunning, deceptive guise of pure humanitarianism, which is anything but pure, or about humanity.
That makes perfect sense, and I'm really glad you shared that with us. The ETHOS system is obviously impressive beyond belief. Okay, I'll give you the final word.
It's simply a fact that the ETHOS, Maris, biosphere system is truly an enigma of monumental proportions. It's absolutely historic. It's fair, equitable, and just. The people's system, their platform, and there's simply no better place to be.
Thank you so much for being here with us today. Godspeed to you and the ETHOS system. That's all the time we have. Thank you for watching.